Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flick Show. My name is Chris Wong. A couple of things from the DC Extended Universe or DC Films Universe, DC Universe has come up. One big one today, and it just dropped like a few hours ago, and this is coming from Variety. You know, when Justin Kroll said he's got another thing coming, I thought it was another Rickroll or something not so big, but it's pretty substantial. If you're a fan of the Wonder Woman movie and of the Wonder Woman sequel that's coming out, Narcos star Pedro Pascal lands a key role in Wonder Woman's sequel. This is an exclusive from Variety. Director Patty Jenkins is bringing on Pedro Pascal for a key role in her Wonder Woman sequel starring Gal Gadot. The Narcos star is on board for the follow-up to 2017's hit, joining Kristen Wiig, who was tapped for the villain role of Cheetah. The film would mark the second time Pascal and Jenkins have worked together, having previously teamed up on the TV movie Exposed. Variety first reported that Jenkins would be returning to write, direct, and produce the pick following the news that the studio has slated the movie for November 1st, 2019. Finding this pivotal role became a top priority. Plot details are still kept under wraps, as is the character Pascal will be playing. Wonder Woman has been a standout in DC's cinematic universe, grossing $821 million worldwide, including $412 domestically. It scored with critics as well, earning a nomination from the Producers Guild as one of the best films in 2017. Pascal gained traction in Hollywood with his scene-stealing performance as Oberyn Martell in HBO's Game of Thrones. The role would lead to another star-making turn in Netflix drama series Narcos. Following the success of both shows, Pascal has begun to make movies in the film world. He was most recently seen in Fox's Kingsman: The Golden Circle, and can be seen next starring opposite Denzel Washington in Antoine Fuqua's sequel to The Equalizer. I'm really looking forward to that one, which debuts July 20th. Oh, really? What's close? This fall, he will also appear in Annapurna and Barry Jenkins' drama If Beale Street Could Talk. He is currently filming J.C. Chandor's Triple Frontier. He's in Hawaii alongside Ben Affleck, Oscar Isaac, Charlie Hunnam, and Garrett Hedlund in Hawaii for Netflix. So that's quite interesting, and there's already talk about who he going to be in the Wonder Woman. They call it a major role, and I mean, he could be anyone from a soldier, from a politician, a senator, but you know, of course, in the comic book world, they start going to different directions. There was one that was really interesting, and that is that he could be Vandal Savage. Now, Vandal Savage is interesting one. I don't know how that plays in to Wonder Woman. It could possibly play in, as he is an immortal as well. There could be something there, but that's one of the ones, and I think it's fantastic because of the way he looks, maybe, or possibly. So I'm really interested to know your thoughts. Who do you think he could possibly be in the Wonder Woman sequel, especially during that time period? Is he just going to be a Soviet spy, maybe just a KGB? You know, it could be as simple as that, but it's more fun to figure out. Maybe he's an actual comic book character. You know what I mean? Okay, so over on Sunday, DC President Geoff Johns changed his Facebook page profile to that of Bruce Banner changing into the Incredible Hulk. Now, Geoff Johns has done, I think he has done some Marvel before, but he mostly posts profile images related to DC Comics, its characters, productions, or himself. So this is a very interesting one to have him post up a profile of Bruce Banner turning into, or the Hulk behind him, and very angry. So I look at that, and a lot of people are saying, oh my god, he's defecting towards Marvel, and I don't think it's going to be that case. I think, if anything, if it has to do with anything with Diane Nelson, he could be possibly angry that she may have actually been let go instead of what the letter from Kevin Tsujihara saying that she's taking a personal leave of absence. Maybe she's not taking a personal leave of absence, and she was actually fired. She was actually let go, and Geoff Johns is just showing his emotion here about how he feels about that. I guess as Kevin Sujihara is making everybody else but him the fall guy for Justice League's subpar release. So I don't know. That's how I'm thinking. In any case, there's some people who agree with me, and a lot of people who don't, and a lot of people who says that it could be nothing. Maybe he's working on something with Incredible Hulk or something like that. If he could do that. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? That is really interesting on how on what's transpiring with that. So, to the heart of the video today, there is an article that came out. This is by Stephen M. Colbert. He's on Twitter. He does a lot of the Justice League stuff and Zack Snyder and everything. He's done some great articles. I like what he writes for Screen Rant. Not everything from Screen Rant is great, but he does some pretty good ones. This is what he's calling everything we know about Zack Snyder's original Justice League 2 plans. And now we kind of know the original Justice League 2 plans. We know about Darkseid being cut out. He talks into length about the details of the dates and what possibly, and a lot of people already said that Chris Terrio never actually wrote the script for Justice League 2. But they possibly had a story that was going to happen, and then they delayed. They had Justice League Part 1. They had just a date for Justice League Part 2. Then by December 2016, that release date was pushed back indefinitely. It was going to be replaced by the Batman. Then Snyder was supposed to do his last photograph and then come back to do Justice League 2, right? So that was going to happen. And then he was removed in February and all that. We already know that. I've made videos at length about that. But I want to focus in about the Part 1 and Part 2. And in the way we'll never, ever see what transpired there. We'll probably never. I hope one day we could. But I have a interesting question or proposition for you guys, is that yes, Warner Brothers has changed it, or we believe they have changed it, that they don't want Justice League Part 1, Justice League Part 2, and they just want to do the single Justice League. And Zack Snyder compromised. He says, you know what, we'll do that, fine. We'll just do that. We'll just do Justice League Part 1. We won't even worry about Justice League Part 2. And in that case, he takes out the Darkseid aspect of it, right? And then we know that he intended the Justice League Part 2, right? He intended the Justice League Part 2. He gave out the 3 crosses and stuff like that, okay? So this is my proposition, is that he shot the Lex Luthor and Deathstroke scene, Slade Wilson scene, right? He shot that. There is some questionable with the dialogue, and added dialogue at the end after that shot, if that was Whedon or not. I hope it's not. But if that was all Zack Snyder and he intended to have them do some kind of Legion of Doom, okay, there could be a plan in here in place that Justice League 2 or the next Justice League movie was already a plan in place by Zack Snyder. Okay, so let's get back. Let's rewind. Now, I'm not saying that they never intended to do Darkseid. He took that out. Okay, that could have been the very first thought process. This is the very first thought process of him and Chris Terrio working together to create a whole story, and they were going to do that. They're going to do Part 1, they were going to do Part 2, Darkseid, possibly maybe Batman dying, maybe Wonder Woman died. I mean, just maybe they copied that Wonder Woman, that snapshot, that comic where Steppenwolf impales her in the comics, so maybe she's supposed to die too. Flashpoint happens, Flash turns around. We could have had a whole time travel alternate timelines, trying to alter time in order to get the team back together, and it goes to the Flashpoint, and then he changes it again, and it could go into craziness stuff, and I would actually prefer that. Okay, in any case, but seeing that it's possible that Zack Snyder made many compromises before he went to the point where he says never compromise, and then they fired him. Like, so there could have been a point where they had settled on a decision that to, at that point, take out Justice League Part 2. They don't call it Part 2. Finish Justice League 1 with Chris Terrio, and they had a cut, right? And they had everything put in place. But with the idea that Zack Snyder's idea that when he shot Lex and Slade Wilson, that there was going to be a Justice League 2, but it had nothing to do with Darkseid. It could have hinted towards Darkseid, but it didn't have to. Maybe that Legion of Doom plan was already in place. The first compromise, that it was already in place, and this plan was to take out Darkseid. He intended that as part of either the first or second compromise, and that he was intending Warner Brothers to do New Gods, to bring the New Gods up and talk about the New Gods and stuff like that, right? Because Geoff Johns came in, and that's why the first... So there's different compromises. There's different areas where he could have changed it. So there's different phases in that production that are really not really clear, at least not to me. If you guys have a time... I mean, I'm trying to go release the Snyder Cut. But I'm wondering, I'm just wondering here, that it's quite possibly that the plan that we have now, that we are going to see in the DC Universe, is a plan that Zack Snyder and Geoff Johns had worked together to say, this is the plan, but as a plan arc, not in how the movie's made. When it came to how the movie's made, and it came to the part that he just didn't want to compromise anymore, that's when they took him out and brought Joss Whedon on. But maybe the initial plan of story on how to set up things is still intact. So that's why Darkseid is not in there. That's why he shot Lex Luthor and Slade Wilson, because they wanted to get the next one to be Legion of Doom, and then use New Gods to set up Darkseid and set up all the New Gods in that way. That's just me speculation, and just me in a way trying to see that it's possible that Zack Snyder's hands are still within this universe in a way, at least not the initial plan, but maybe the second or third plan before he said that was I'm done, that he had something worked out with Geoff Johns, and they're continuing on this timeline per se, just a timeline of it all. So I don't know, that's just what I'm thinking, and let me know if any of you feel that way or at all. But you know, I'd love to see the Snyder Cut regardless, to see what that first Justice League Part 1 would have done. I think it would have been it wouldn't have been a big deal to even tease Darkseid at that point, because you will see Darkseid later on. It will pay off in the New Gods movie. And you know, I don't know. I think the decision to do Legion of Doom is a good one. You don't want to take I mean, I guess you want to get to the Justice Darkseid really far. I think what Zack Snyder had intended was like a more finite universe, and I've said this before, but he made a compromise where Warner Brothers wanted to make it a cinematic universe, so he kind of stretched it out, and I'm hoping that initial stretch out is still the timeline that we see here. So just thinking about that in general. All right, guys. Anyway, what do you guys think about Narcos star Pedro Pascal, and what role do you think he will play in the Wonder Woman sequel? Also, what do you think, or have you any say about Geoff Johns changing his profile to an Incredible Hulk and Bruce Banner? Do you think, like me, where it's anything to do with Diane Nelson and what they're trying to cover up, or do you think it's just a harmless picture and he's just mad about maybe not getting the right meal and when he ordered at a restaurant or something petty like that? All right, guys, let me know your thoughts, comment down below, and thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.